we're live. Okay, looks like the audio's working, screen capture's working. You should be able to see all the start button and everything. Alright, good, very good. Okay, we are live. Welcome back, YouTubers, to OpenFOAM Intermediate. So in this video series, we've been learning a lot about how to use a little bit more advanced feature in OpenFOAM, not just the basic block mesh, icofoam, etc. Those are very basic cases. I know the learning curve was pretty steep, but yeah, at least you know how to use it. If you watch my beginner guide on Windows 10, I've been using Windows Subsystem for Linux for a while. However, that's not enough if you want to use OpenFOAM. So if you want to talk about turbulence and everything, we covered some of this stuff in the intermediate series over the last few videos. So this is the OpenFOAM intermediate videos. You can see the whole playlist here. Do go and check it out. But if you're on this video already, you should have known that the playlist is found in the video description here. And that's why I post a lot of useful stuff as well. Do go and look. So you see this video is here. The description will be shown below if you're using a web browser. Okay, for phones, I believe it should be quite easy to access as well. So yeah, what have we been doing? Yeah, we've been doing a kind of a pipe flow case, trying to learn how to run in parallel. However, of course, that pipe flow case is not complete. Not quite complete. We have not explored fully all the possible features of what PimplFOAM can do, what OpenFOAM can do in general. It's a collection of code. They can run to do a lot of things, turbulence, heat transfer, a lot of things you can do. But for intermediate, I'll stick to the turbulence modeling and just fluid mechanics flow. I have another series for heat transfer, but I'll talk about that in that particular video series over here. I can't cover all of OpenFOAM now. I don't have the time, but what I can cover, I'll cover. All right. So you may notice a few. Before I do that, okay. Yes. So yeah, we noticed that the PimplFOAM case we have developed on the thin pipe flow snapping X mesh was not complete because we were taking a look at rather incomplete case. Because we only covered one turbulence model of the many that are available there. And also, we noticed there are some rough edges with this particular simulation, right? And we want to sort of refine that. I'm not going to go through all of them yet. I just want to tell you what to expect in the next few videos. Yes, but as you would have noticed in the last, if you've been watching the video series with me, or rather, you've been watching the video series in general, and you've been watching what I've been talking about. So, yeah, you noticed. Okay, let's say we have our pipe flow, right? And I said sort of before, we sort of use a topo set to try to separate the front patch, right? The front patch into the front side, the inlet into a different patch. And likewise to do it this way as well. You have noticed as we do that, there are some jagged edges at the side, and this simulation is not so nice in that aspect. But of course there is pipe flow, but you notice the velocity profile doesn't really seem like a smooth pipe. It seems like a very rough and jagged pipe. If you would have noticed, there will be a lot of velocity streaks here with different velocity profile. And also, this is one of the rough edges we want to smooth out. The other thing is that the mesh inside doesn't seem too nice at all. It looks very squarish. Okay, it looks very squarish. Okay. But normally what we want, we want layers towards the edges of the simulation as far as possible. Okay, so one of the things we want to smooth out is the geometry. We want to smooth out the geometry of the whole simulation. Second thing, okay, we want to cover we'll try and cover other turbulence models. Other turbulence models. Because so far, I think we've only covered the K epsilon model and certain boundary conditions to do with that. But as you go on with CFD, you might notice that you need to carry on do simulations that are not just K epsilon. You might run into K omega, you might need to do large eddy simulation, etc. etc. There are a lot of turbulence models that OpenFOAM can do in general, but most guides they only cover K epsilon because that's the most basic model to get you started. So this is under a class called Raynes models, Reynolds average Navier-Stokes. Okay, if you want to go into more detail on what all these are, do go and look at my turbulence modeling playlist. It will be again in the video description, so do take a look at the video description. There are lots of useful links over there. Okay, lots of useful links. Let me get back to GIMP. Alright, so now lots of other turbulence models you can use, so that's something I want to cover. Alright, so one is the geometry, you want to make it a little more smooth. The other thing is other turbulence models, and of course the last thing, at least the last part I want to cover is more GitHub and GitHub and Bash related stuff. Because so far we've been using GitHub in a rather basic way, and just push everything to the master branch. Just push everything up to the master branch and treat it as if it were a cloud service that only we use. One of us is using, one user is managing. But there are lots of other stuff you can do on GitHub as well. I have not introduced that because it could be data overload, and of course I was learning myself as well as I'm doing these videos. So as of now, I've learned new knowledge over the last few weeks or few months for that matter, and I want to share it with you guys. And of course it's a good reminder for myself in case I forget everything I learned. I always can come and look back at these videos, right? But it's a good record. So I've actually cloned. Okay, you may notice I've been using a Linux Mint instead of Windows now because of the sheer speed that Linux offers. And I mean, I do talk about Linux Mint in yet another video series, but I'm not going to bother too much about that now. So if you want to take a look at all the stuff I do subscribe and take a look at all the video series. Okay, I'm not going to put all of them in the description, but yeah, if not, the description will be very long. But yeah, there are videos about that available, so do take a look. Alright, so I've actually cloned thin pipe flow snappy hex mesh here, and as you would have noticed, it's a bit hard to get around working with all this if you don't know the bash commands. So one thing you may note is that this thin pipe flow snappy hex mesh repository is getting excessively big. So how do you then take a look at the size of this, for example? So you may or may not know we use this command called du-sh in at least the Ubuntu based terminal, just to size it up. And I'm going to go through these commands more in detail, or at least use them more in the next few videos. But you can see it's a huge file, 7 gigabytes, and the idea is that we want to trim some of these excessive non-used what do you call it, excessive data, right? We want to strip it down. Not strip it down, how to say, make it more lean in that sense. I don't want to be uploading and downloading 7 gigabytes of data, with my GitHub. The repository is really big, so I want to do something to make it smaller. So this these are some things you should know about GitHub management. It's good to know, and I strongly encourage us to take a look, and that's what I want to go through. And of course, bash commands. Bash commands such as simple sizing. I've not done that as much. But knowing some of these will help you around when it comes to OpenFOAM. So I'll be including more of these in the next few videos. So it's going to speed up a little bit, but hopefully this is going to help in the long run. So these are some of the things I want to cover in the next few videos. So these are some of the things I want to cover in the next few videos, and I've received also feedback that my repository is really big. So try to make it small. That's the idea. Okay. And the other thing that you might want to use GitHub for very much, GitHub. Let's see. Let's clear it up. Alright, so you might want to use GitHub if you have this situation. You have OpenFOAM, which you want to run. You have OpenFOAM you want to run. So let's say you have a home PC. You have a PC at home or some laptop at home. And then you have another PC at work. Or something else in school. Or you have a spare laptop lying around, and you want to happen to use OpenFOAM on that laptop as well as this laptop if you want to run different cases. So let's say you have a common repository. For example, let's say you have a thin pipeflow snappy hex mesh, and you want to use different PCs to work on different aspects of this simulation. So for example, your home PC may be doing, you want to do some strange geometry. So you have a geometry thing. Okay, over here at work, maybe you want to use that PC to work on, the turbulence models. You want to use that to work on the turbulence models. So you want these two PCs to be running simulations, but they're running independent of each other, but you also want to put them together in the same repository or cloud storage on GitHub. How then do you manage this case? Okay, if you are a seasoned user of GitHub, you would know something about branches and merging, but for most of us, especially those just starting out on OpenFOAM, you may not know what branches and merging, and it may sound very intimidating. So what this helps you to do is that instead of pushing all your work to the master branch, for example, I've always used this thing called git push origin master. So it's a common, like the main thread, so to speak. We can always look into developing. I'll introduce that later. Yes, it's a little bit more detail to do. So how do you work with GitHub? How do you use GitHub to harness the power of your PCs at home and your PCs at work, or you have two different laptops, etc. How do you fully use GitHub? How do you fully use the bash terminal to help you with your simulation? So this is some of the content I want to cover in the next few videos. So that is the plan. So in the next video or next few videos, so we're gonna cover more on that. Okay, and what else about turbulence models? Okay, so I just typed the clear command there. Alright, so what other turbulence models are there in OpenFOAM? Well, there are many. You can just use this command. You type in PimpleFoam and you type list turbulence models. Just type the tab button. And it will help you to show all these models here. So You can see there are over 20 Reynolds average stress models, or RANS type, Reynolds average Navier-Stokes, which are they are the family of turbulence model with K epsilon. So there are 20 of them. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot, and it can be very intimidating to know which to choose. And there are lots of details. And then you have this thing called large eddy simulation, or LES models here. And again, these are different class of turbulence model. They have a totally different mindset and methodology, different philosophy, so to speak, on how a different school of thought on how to simulate turbulence. So if you are going to deal with turbulence, you may want to know more about this. Okay, but I'm going to cover that as well. So hopefully you know what I'm really going to, what I intend to do in the next few videos. Now, of course, for Windows users, I know that I'm using Linux Mint now, and it can be a bit intimidating. Watch a video or workflow that's being done on Linux. I do it because it's faster. It's way faster than Windows. Because I mean the OS is really nice. It's really nice to use once you get used to it. But for those of us who still want to stick with Windows subsystem for Linux, and you are not intending to dual boot or run a virtual machine or just wipe out everything on your laptop to do Linux, I will try to make it such that the steps, I'll try my best, okay? Try my best to make it such that the steps that I'm using on these terminals here, they are as far as possible applicable to the Windows subsystem for Linux. So for example, ParaFoam is kind of exclusive to the Linux versions of OpenFOAM, the TrueBlue, Pure Linux, whatever versions of OpenFOAM. ParaFoam is just one of those examples that it's very hard to do on the Windows subsystem for Linux, unless of course you're doing a full virtual machine, and that's a different story altogether. But if you're just doing a Windows subsystem for Linux, it's going to be a bit troublesome to do that. So I'll try to work in ways that it should still be very reminiscent, very applicable for Windows subsystem for Linux. And for Linux users, of course, I think that you should be very familiar with working with Linux already. You have a certain workflow to it. I mean, there are lots of YouTubers out there that do it the pure Linux way. So I'm not going to cover too much on that. I'll try to keep it friendly for the WSL users as well. So don't worry, I'll try to do that. And yeah, so this is roughly what I want to cover next few videos. So see you guys next time. It will be a somewhat faster pace. I'll be trying to squeeze in more information in my videos, because I assume you know the basics already. But of course, I'll try to explain as clearly and thoroughly as possible as I've done in the last few videos. So yeah, hope to see you next time. Do leave a like and subscribe, and always check the video description below for useful links. And of course, if you want to see other stuff, how I transition to Linux Mint and etc. Other videos, do take a look at my channel. Do like and subscribe. There are plenty of playlists there for you to take a look at. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys again. Bye bye.